You know that little pop-up. Accept cookies. It feels like tapping an elevator button, a tiny click that just makes the website work. But here's the twist. That tap can be less like pressing an elevator button and more like opening the lobby doors for a crowd you did not know was waiting outside. So what actually happens when you hit accept? Who is getting what? Why do some sites suddenly recognize you everywhere? And if cookies are just small files, how can they end up shaping what you buy, what you see, and what you believe? Let's pull the curtain back. The mystery. Why does one tap feel so powerful? First, a quick reset. A cookie is just a small piece of data a site stores in your browser. Think of it like a coat check ticket. It does not contain your coat, it contains the number that helps someone find it later. So if cookies are just tickets, why do they trigger such a big privacy conversation? Because accept usually is not agreeing to one cookie. It is agreeing to a whole system. And that system has 3 layers. Mechanism, layer 1, your browser gets new instructions. When the cookie banner appears, most sites have not loaded all tracking tech yet, at least not legally in places with strict consent rules. Your choice is basically a gate. If you tap reject, the site should only run what is strictly necessary to function. In the EU, consent is generally required before non-essential cookies can be set. If you tap accept, you are often telling the site that it may store identifiers and run scripts for analytics and advertising. And the site responds immediately. It drops a few first-party cookies set by the website itself, like session cookies, preference cookies, and often analytics IDs. So far, it still sounds tame. Now here's the clever part. Mechanism, layer 2. The tag orchestra wakes up. The moment you accept, a second thing happens. Scripts start running. These are little pieces of code from the site and from third parties, like analytics providers, ad networks, video players, social embeds, share buttons, heat map tools, A/B testing tools, the whole marketing toolbox. Each script is like a musician joining the stage. One script pings another. Another calls a server. Some set cookies, some read cookies, some write identifiers into other storage areas that are not even called cookies, such as local storage. And suddenly, your browser is not just talking to one website, it is talking to a web of companies. Micro twist. Accept can be a broadcast signal. On many sites, especially in Europe, your choice is packaged into something called a consent string and shared across ad tech vendors using an industry standard called the IAB Transparency and Consent Framework. Think of it like a wristband at a festival. Once you have the wristband, you do not have to keep proving you paid at every booth. The booths just scan you and say, "Cool, you are cleared." That is why one tap can ripple outward so fast. Mechanism, layer 3. This is the U that gets built. Okay, what's the goal of all this? Usually measurement and targeting. Measurement means answering questions like, how did you get here? What did you click? Did you buy? Did an ad cause that? Targeting means showing ads based on what you might want and doing it across sites, not just one. To do that, the system needs continuity. One way to say it is that the browser that visited page A is the same browser that later visited page B. That continuity often comes from identifiers, sometimes from cookies, sometimes from other signals. Not usually your name. More often, a pseudonymous ID acts like a name. Once you have a stable ID, you can start attaching labels. Interested in running shoes, watched 3 videos about back pain, looked at flights to Barcelona. You might never see those labels, but they can still steer what you are shown. Now here's the twist. Advertising happens at lightning speed. A lot of targeted ads run through a system called real-time bidding. In plain English, when a page loads an auction can happen in milliseconds to decide which ad you see. Your browser loads the page. Behind the scenes, data about the opportunity to show you an ad can be sent to multiple parties who decide whether to bid. This is why the cookie conversation is not just about one website remembering you. It is about how many middlemen get involved when attention is bought and sold. Myth versus reality number 1. If I'm not logged in, they don't know it's me. Reality: you can be very trackable without logging in. A persistent identifier tied to your browser can still connect visits, clicks, and purchases even if it never attaches to your legal name. And even when cookies get restricted, tracking does not disappear. It adapts. Browsers are actively changing how third-party cookies work. Chrome's plans around third-party cookie deprecation have shifted over time along with privacy sandbox proposals, meaning the ecosystem is moving, not vanishing. Real-life impact. Why cookie banners feel everywhere now. Cookie banners didn't explode because websites suddenly got polite. They exploded because regulators started saying you cannot just track people first and ask later. For example, the United Kingdom's privacy regulator has explicitly pushed back on banners that make accept easy and reject hidden, and on non-essential cookies being set before consent. And in California, there is growing pressure around opt-out signals like global privacy control, a browser-level setting intended to communicate, don't sell or share my data. So the banner isn't just a design trend, it's a legal pressure valve. Micro twist. Accept isn't one decision because the uses are different. Here is what most people don't realize. Cookies are not one category. It's more like a drawer full of tools. Some are necessary to keep the site stable. Some are there to count visitors. Some are there to follow your behavior across the internet. And those are not the same thing. That is why many laws and guidelines emphasize granular consent. You should be able to say yes to one purpose and no to another. Myth versus reality number 2. I'll just clear my cookies. Clearing cookies can help. It can remove stored identifiers in your browser, but it does not rewind time. If data already left your browser, like analytics events, ad conversions, or audience labels, clearing cookies does not reach into other companies' databases and delete what was already collected. It's like shredding your copy of a receipt after the store already scanned it. Helpful going forward, not magical backward. So what should you actually do? Practical takeaways. No panic, no perfection, just leverage. Here are a few choices that shift the balance. First, use reject all when it is offered, and do not feel guilty. If a site truly needs something to function, it will usually fall under strictly necessary cookies. Everything else is optional. Second, look for manage settings and turn off advertising cookies first. If you only do one thing, do that. ADS are where cross-site tracking pressure tends to be highest. Third, enable a global opt-out signal if your browser supports it. For example, global privacy control is designed to send an opt-out preference to websites. Fourth, use separate browsers for separate you. One browser for personal life, one for shopping, one for work. It is like keeping different notebooks instead of mixing everything into one. Fifth, remember the real bargain you are being offered. Sometimes accept buys convenience, smoother personalization, fewer repeated prompts, and fewer irrelevant ads. Sometimes it buys surveillance you did not intend. You get to decide what is worth it today. So what happens when you tap accept cookies? A small file might get stored, yes. But more importantly, you are often opening a gate for scripts to run, for identifiers to be created, for consent signals to travel, for your browsing moments to become data points in a bigger machine. And once you see it that way, the banner stops being a nuisance. It becomes a question. It is not asking whether you accept cookies, it is asking, how many strangers do you want in the room while you read?